Awesome. So, Greg was at the Canadian Grand Prix this past weekend, and he's excited to tell us a little bit more. So, Greg, related to the Canadian Grand Prix, what did you see that you think is notable for the F1 card market, F1 card collectors, and F1 card investors? And certainly would love your take on maybe a play that you might make with those cards. Are they something that you might get PSA DNA certified?
Well, let's go back to the off season. I know you're saying we don't have any off
Okay.
season, but before the F1 season started, actually, if I asked you, Paul, if you thought that the F1 market would be driven so much by performance, would you have believed me?
You know, probably not. I would. So you know me well enough to know that I love that the entire sports card market, for the most part, is driven by performance. I think that's what makes it exciting for me personally, and for a lot. I think for a lot of our audience. But with F1, I would have been hopeful on that, but I would not have thought that it would have been driven by driver performance as much as the other sports. So what are you telling us that it is being driven by performance quite a bit?
Well, of course it was. I mean, if you look at what happened at the beginning of the season, there was what we can call now the Charles Leclerc bubble. And the bubble has
Yes.
burst. If you look at the value of his cards, I mean, they spiked up so much when people thought that he would be the front runner in the championship. Now that he's not, I mean, his market collapsed. And the same happened for a couple of drivers. And I think that Montreal was a race that will tell us a lot for the rest of the season. Max dominated and absolutely dominated, and now has 46 points on his teammate, Sergio Checo Perez, which, by the way, his dad was sitting right next to us in the stands, and people were taking pictures with Checo's dad. It was a pretty funny moment there on Saturday. And then 49 points on Leclerc. So at this point, unless there is a major collapse from Red Bull, which pretty much won't be happening, Max Verstappen pretty much has this championship locked up. What I liked about the race is seeing other drivers pushing and looking good despite their results. When you look at what happened with um, Mick Schumacher during the race, his car failed him, but he was super quick. Quick Mick was back this weekend. He had a great qualifying session. I think that the people that were just about to give up on investing in Mick Schumacher were probably a bit reassured seeing him that quick in qualifying. Uh, George Russell took some risks there, so and George still placed P4. I mean, he's still in the top five. And the big news there, Lewis Hamilton is back. So people think that, it's because Checo uh, was not able to perform this weekend. So, I mean, people won't give credit to Lewis for what he did, but he was saying his car was undrivable on Friday and still stepped on the podium in third place. So what does that mean? I mean, Lewis could probably be a threat and could finally have found his rhythm with less porpoising on the car. And as you know, if Lewis has better performance from now on, all the market goes back up. All of it. He's the major part of it. He's still, I was in the stands for 2 days. Yes, there are um, popular drivers. Lando's a popular driver. Of course, Max is. Fernando Alonso still. But whenever Lewis was on track in front of the stands, everyone would go up, cheer for him. He is still the most popular driver on track, despite what everyone says. And we saw what happened. He didn't perform this year. The market went down. Is this the only reason? No, but this is a main reason as well. If you have the main player of a sport not performing, the whole market goes down. And This is it. So now, if Lewis can get back up and perform until the end of the season, I think that this will, again, the same case as Mick, reassure people and um, and probably drive the prices a little more up. So this is uh, this is my, you could say, hot take there, but a take from the Canadian Grand Prix, as I said, that a season shifting. Um, though, so that's it.
Yeah, I think you did a great job a couple weeks ago talking about Lewis being a good buy when he after he hadn't performed the way that we all thought he might heading into the season. He was having some car trouble. Now you're saying he's back, and you actually made a hot take a couple weeks ago as well that he would start winning races. So it's looking like
Yep.
you know what you're talking about, and with the market
I
being
hope
driven
so.
by with the market being driven by driver performance, Lewis looks like not only was he a good buy a couple weeks ago, but he looks like he's being the GOAT. He should continue to be someone that we're all targeting buying, right? I mean, it's kind of buy Lewis, and then talk about what you already talked about. I think Lewis heating up and what that means for the F1 card market, and I think that's great. But are there any particular cards? Is there any um, particular plays with Lewis that you see, or is he just kind of the long term goat hold? Buy and hold because he's gonna hold value, and then of course, you know, hoping that he does
Yeah.
win races in the future. Seeing some more increase in his prices. Do you anticipate that? Do you think it's that black and white?
Well, it's never that black and white in cards. If I told you that, I mean, 3 months ago, if I would have told you that everything that's happening now in the card market would have happened, a lot of people would have laughed. And now here we are. So it's never that black and white. But to me, Lewis is one of the all sports, put together. Lewis is probably one of the top three buy and hold that we can have. He's, I mean,
Yep.
in the conversation of one of the best drivers ever, top two, actually, top three, Senna, Schumacher, and him. And he will continue winning races. His career still goes on. For how long, we don't know. But seeing him smile like this in Montreal was so good, man. I mean, I'm not talking about the investor, the collector here. I'm just talking about the Lewis fan. I'm a fan of pretty much all the drivers anyway, but the Lewis fan there, seeing him, hold Carlos Sainz, joking a bit with Max, seeing him smile and so happy. He loves Montreal also, just like he loves Brazil and also Great Britain. But the ultimate buy and hold and the play, um, any portrait you can get, and even more 2020. Once again, I'll say it in
Mm-hmm.
F1, stick to 2020 if you can, or any short prints. PSA 10 short prints from 2021 or anything numbered can be a good play. But yeah, if you can, if you were dreaming of a 2020 card that was not affordable for you in the past years, probably now is your time.
Perfect. Great takeaways. So before we move on to our next topic, which has to do with something that you mentioned a minute ago, which is kind of Lewis being back really helping all of the F1 card market, and we try to prospect a lot on the show. So we'll do that in a minute. But before we get there, any other takeaways from the Canadian Grand Prix related to cards? Like, I'm just curious, like you being at the race, was Top set up at all? Did Fanatics have a presence? It might be too early for some of that stuff, but you got some cards signed as a gift, which is awesome. And any other, like, F1 being strong, that's awesome. But was there any type of other takeaways related specifically to F1 cards at the race, or was it more just phenomenal fan experience, great show put on by the drivers, and F1 kind of seeming strong overall?
Well, it was a great show there. Unfortunately, I didn't see anything from Tops, but it's Montreal circuit. The Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is an island, so it's pretty stretched out. It's like a 4.3 kilometer. actually, just so you know, we can bike and run on the track when the cars are not there all year long. If you want to go take your bike and do some laps, that's actually how the best bikers or whatever, the best athletes, cyclists.
Hmm.
That's the good term. I'm sorry, it's still early in the morning. The best cyclists actually train. They just go on the track and go for laps and intervals. But anyway, um, I didn't see anything from Tops. Tops didn't activate anything. Also, I looked at their Instagram account. I looked everywhere. It seems like they just did that in Miami because it was the first Grand Prix, and probably also to help and drive the card market. So there was nothing there to collect, and nothing from Fanatics as well. I hope next year there's something, and I hope they still work, hand in hand with. I'm pretty sure people would have bought some cards on site. It's part, and it's part of the experience. It's part of the F1 culture to actually collect anything. In my early years, I saw some people actually walk with a tire on their shoulder that they were able to get like early on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And people are buying, if you want a cap from any team, it goes from 80 to $120 for just a cap. And
Okay.
the shirts are going up, pretty much more expensive than that. So yeah, man, it's I think Tops has probably something in mind to pump a little more the card market, if that's even possible. But there was
Yeah.
nothing on site there for collectors, card collectors. Of course, it happened for me, but probably some people ran into drivers in the city or in the autograph sessions. They could meet them and have their cards signed. I didn't see anything show up. Usually, I know some collectors in some Facebook groups just uh, post them online because they're so happy that actually happened. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we know Fanatics cut a deal with MLB, NBA, and NFL to probably start, I think, sometime in the next couple of years, where those pro sports leagues are actually going to have an ownership stake in the new Fanatics trading card company. And so I wonder if that is going to happen with F1. That would certainly be great, I think, for not only the fans of F1 but also the sports card collectors of F1, because I think that it just further motivates both the organization, the league, um, you know, and the card company to collaborate on the better experience for the fans. So
of course.
um, that would be cool.